Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the studios again with me, Zahira Bam Ismail. Today in my studio, we have the phenomenal Bint Nur Ebrahim, an executive director at Oasis Crescent. Bint Nur is a Bachelor of Business Science in Finance and Accounting and a Master's of Commerce in Financial Management, where she specialized with her research in Islamic finance from the University of Cape Town. She brings a rare combination of academic excellence and practical leadership. She not only sits as a director across multiple Oasis entities, but she also leads the group's evolving digital and marketing roadmap. Her passion for technology, ethical finance, and investor engagement ensures Oasis remains digitally agile and purpose-driven. But these are credentials. And beyond that, there's still an amazing woman who is a mother of two and is fast becoming a champion for women in finance, using her platform to simplify investing, promoting inclusivity, and inspiring the next generation of women. Today, as we unpack the journey with her, we get to know the woman behind all these credentials, behind the name, behind the titles, as we talk about women stepping into leadership and the impact that they have. Assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me and welcome to Cape Town.
Thank you so much. Cape Town's always fabulous to be here, but as I said earlier, you never know what weather you're going to have. You start up in every season just in one day.
Well, you brought the sunshine, so.
Fantastic. Bint Nur, we're speaking about your credentials that you've got, this title that you have at Oasis, and this is obviously a family legacy that you've walked into. How does it feel to balance, or even rather not balance, to juggle it all in a professional life, your personal life, and just managing everything on a daily basis?
It's an important question that I think as women, we tend to ask how can we do this? But I think the first part is to be honest with yourself about what it is that you truly want in your life. What are your core goals, priorities? What is it that you truly value? And then commit to that. Because I think that if we are intentional about the bigger picture, then of course, when we are juggling several roles, it does come with sacrifice. But then you're less likely to be drawn into feelings of guilt or that you are missing out, because you have that awareness of what your ultimate vision is for yourself, for your loved ones. For me, my children are my greatest inspiration. So that always guides everything that I do.
There are always key moments in our life that make a huge difference in terms of how we approach the world, how we step into the world, and how we present ourselves into the world. You speak very strongly about your love for learning, your love of reading. How along this education journey of yours, or where along this journey of yours, has education come in, and how has it made such a big difference that it's impacted you to such an extent that you still continue learning, regardless of being already achieving the positions you're in?
Well, I think a key moment in my life was when I changed schools, and that happened when I was in grade 6. And I really had to adapt to a new school environment. And there were some gaps that needed to be bridged. And so it was an important step in my life because my parents really believed in me and they got me the assistance that I needed. And it was just the most important life lesson to me that with hard work, and not only do you just need to get some assistance, you also need to take ownership of that journey yourself. And so I did that very early on. I took ownership of the journey. I became very invested in my learning, in improving, and I can say that it really paid off.
What for you would be the definition of success?
I think to have contentment in your life. I think that, and have that peace within, that you're living a good life and you're in a good space and your family is in a good space. Having that contentment, to me, that's success.
With getting into university, that's obviously a very pivotal point. It's not just about fun and games and getting through. Yours was very strategic in the causes that you studied, the research that you did. Did you see yourself as already being part of a family legacy and that's what impacted what you wanted to study? Or is it because conversations around the table went that way? How did your research still go so strongly into Islamic finance?
from a young age, I've always been very connected to the business. And so I think that does have a way in shaping the path that you choose. So initially, I actually looked at studying accounting further, and my degree allowed that, finance and accounting. But when I graduated with my first degree, I just decided, I'd really actually like to get some real life experience and then determine what it is that I want to study further, because I knew I would want to study further. But I think, that initial degree, it's quite a grueling process. And I just wanted to have that time to really decide what my next step was. And it was so wonderful that I actually got to come to Oasis, spend a year here, work with my dad. And I was given such a wide experience that I was able to apply for my master's degree and get in where, you actually need a bit more years of experience. But because of the quality of the experience I got at Oasis, I was able to go into the next year to do my master's degree and take it further. And that year that I spent here was so integral to shaping the career path that I then chose, which is to further focus specifically on finance and and the ethical finance element that was so strong here and really captured my attention while I was here, was something that I then wanted to take further and pursue.
But your research went into Islamic finance. How easy or how difficult was it to access the right information, credible information that impacted on this journey?
Well, as I said, I absolutely love researching. And so it was actually a really special time in my life. I had just had my son, so I was a new mom, and I took that time to finish my master's and really research and get into it. It was just a wonderful time to have that moment in your life when you could do that, because it's really something that gives me fulfillment. I love to write, I love to research, and so I really thoroughly enjoyed that. So there was a lot of research that had to be done, and there is work that is out there to draw from. But then, of course, having the connection to Oasis, who have been at the forefront in this field, unlocked, access to me of knowledge that could then take further into my thesis and my writings.
And that's so beautifully said, because I think one of the things we often miss is people say, oh, we just go with the flow. And we actually shouldn't. We have to be very strategic in what we're doing and how we're doing it, because if we have an end vision, we know exactly how we're going to be getting there.
True.
But being in this business, it's a family legacy. It's a family business. You've brought a very different, young dynamic that's making it very accessible for women. But what is the value system that underpins it for you, that you hold on to or that you look up to, that still keeps you grounded while you're still moving it forward?
I come from a very unique position in that I saw the business being built. My father founded it when I was 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
So it's been such an integral part of my life. And I've had a first-hand view of what it took to build the business to what it is today. The hard work, the dedication, the strength, the bravery, that perseverance. And so it naturally builds a lot of respect to the values and the principles that got the organization to where it is today. And I think that as a person, I naturally love to learn. I think you constantly have to be in a state of expanding your knowledge, expanding your skills, and it comes with running a business as well. We have to constantly be aware, be able to examine your strategies and adjust them if need be, and so that we can deliver the best for our clients and really bring advances in our industry. So I'm very cognizant of that. So I think it's a careful balance, therefore, to hold the principles that brought the organization to where it is today, and always take that with you. But it also brings you that extra passion because you've seen it being built to want to see it into the future.
Then how does that translate for you? Because, it's a predominantly male, or it has rather been a very predominantly male-orientated space. And here you've been brought in, you are now females in the space, you're making financial finance very accessible to women.
Yes.
How has that transition been? Has it been very accepting? Has it been an open one or has it been challenging to fit into this role?
It's most important to embrace the opportunities that come your way. I think that often you may feel scared, and then that can hold you back. But I think the most important thing is to actually overcome those doubts, overcome those fears, because often the experiences that scare us the most can actually bring about our greatest growth. It's an industry that is evolving, and women are increasingly being given this platform and these roles of leadership. So it's a changing industry. And so, at the beginning it can seem daunting, but I think it's important for us to embrace the opportunities. Absolutely. And thankfully, in our organization, we do have a very nurturing and encouraging team behind us.
What is your advice then? Because I mean, finance has always been such a taboo subject, something that women are not allowed to be discussing openly. And we're seeing that changing. But for a layperson like myself, or the women who are watching, where do we even start? What would be your first advice in terms of finance or investments?
The most important step is to start, and is to start saving and investing and reaching out to advisors to get expert advice, because your situation is very unique. And so you've got to come up with a tailored solution that would be most suitable to see you through your life in the best way. And that's really what we try and deliver at Oasis, is to see an individual through their life, and also to build that trust within families, to managing the finances through generations. And so that's very important for us, to drive that message and to build that trust. And then if I go back to just being able to start, it's about getting into that practice and that discipline of looking at what you have today and determining an amount that you are able to set aside, and set that aside for your future self, for the people that you love, because it's an important discipline to put into your life, and you will benefit from that in the long term.
And putting that aside and saving for future generations doesn't also stop you from living a very comfortable life,
exactly.
Right?
So it's not about making your life hard today. It's about looking at what can you set aside, and then as your income changes, as your circumstance change, you can increase that. And so it's a journey, and that's why I say it's good to have a financial advisor taking that journey with you and really giving you the best advice to see you through it.
With August being Women's Month, there's always such a huge emphasis on self-care. Before, we used to see it just being on physical care. Now we see a huge step into mental well-being, into spiritual well-being. But there's also a very big overriding factor that we haven't paid attention to, and that's financial well-being. How does that play into self-care as well?
It's incredibly important to focus on your financial well-being in terms of your overall wellness. It really plays an important role. I think we all know how financial worries can really cause a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety in somebody's life, and affect their overall health even. And having that confidence that your finances is in order really gives you that extra boost in your life. It opens up opportunities for you. It enables you to live your life in the most authentic way, because you do feel that you have a safety net to fall back on. And it really enables you to enjoy experiences for yourself, for your loved ones. So it's incredibly important in terms of living your life to the fullest and enjoying it.
You mentioned financial well-being, but there's a common thought out there that we need to look at that only when we're older, when we're planning for retirement, when we're planning for leaving behind, as you previously mentioned. But surely there's space to be played for also for people in their 20s and their 30s. Where do we have, or how do we even have those discussions with children or with the youth at that age?
So important for us as parents to make that decision. We've seen it in our business with our clients, how incredible a gift it is to give your child a gift of an investment when they are, for instance, 18 years old. We have this, we in South Africa, we have a tax-free savings product, and it's an ideal investment for long-term saving. And if you were to open up that investment for your child at birth, of course, there's a lifetime limit to it. So it's not a product that, we recommend tapping into all the time. But if you consistently set aside money in that account, and grandparents contribute to it on occasions such as Eid and family members at birthdays, what an incredible gift to give your child that they can then draw on when they need it later in life, completely tax-free.
But you're saying completely tax-free. We don't even know these things exist. So how accessible is this information to the public on a general basis?
Well, that's really what we're trying to do at Oasis, is to really spread the knowledge, break down the confusion that people may have, and really enable people to understand all the details about the products that they are invested in or would like to invest in. There are different products that are suitable for different age groups. The younger you are, the more risk you can be exposed to. You have a greater ability to withstand market fluctuations. So we may recommend more exposure to an asset class like equities. But as you mature, you may need access to your funds in a shorter time period. And therefore, we may recommend greater exposure to assets such as income, Islamic sukuks, or property. So it all plays a role, and it's important to communicate where you are in your life and know your goals and the time horizon that it's going to take to that you'd like to reach those goals in, because it influences the funds to which your money is invested in.
But how important, well, I know it's very important for me, but how does it tie in with Oasis to be able to have an Islamic aspect to that? Because I know that was part of your research study that you did at University of Cape Town. How did that tie into your outlook and what you're offering?
Well, I think it was such a wonderful experience to really dive deeper into this field, because growing up, I heard about it. And Oasis has been so pioneering in this field of Islamic finance, and really provided accessibility to saving. It really, is a legacy of providing accessibility. That's something that we want to take through our journey. So I think the principles of Islamic finance, it's so integral to the world we live in today, because there's so much going on, there's so much noise, and to really have principles that ground you and that sort of, it reduces your investment universe of what you can invest in, but there's a protection in it. And so I think that's incredibly beautiful. And in the world of where in the current landscape, where ESG, which is more ethical investment considerations, are really being considered now, and people are really focusing on it. At Oasis, we started with this ethical mindset. So it's just been a part of who we are. And so it's just been a natural flow for our products to be ready for the world we live in today.
And I love how you describe it as a protection net, because I think all of us are looking for that in our lives. But you speak about this ethics that comes in, this accountability, the transparency, this leadership, this value system that underpins your offerings. What are your personal values that you take along with your journey that gives this leadership impact? Because it's exceptionally inspiring to sit with you. You're a young woman in the forefront of finance. What are the values that underpin that for you?
Well, I think it's incredibly important to have integrity in everything that you do. I've always strived for excellence in all that I do. So I hold myself accountable. And I think that also leads on to really valuing the role that I've been given and taking it seriously that I've been entrusted with this, and having that respect for people, because so much of our work is working with people, and also we're in an industry where clients have entrusted us with their earnings, so it's something we have to hold incredibly high. And then for me, the way that I live my life is that you try your best in everything that you do, but the outcome is not in your control. And so I think the minute you submit to that, it's incredibly liberating. And in the way that we operate, you always have to be cognizant of sometimes things are meant for you and sometimes it's not. And no matter how hard you try, it might not just be meant for you. And so it's knowing when to draw that line so that you aren't held back by this one opportunity that you think is most important for you, but that you rather prosper in another opportunity that inshallah comes your way.
And if we're talking about your journey and we're talking about this belief that your parents had in you and pushing you to want more, how do you translate that for yourself in your own family, with your own children? Because like we said earlier in our conversation, it really is just juggling it all, trying to keep our heads above water, and some days just feeling like we survive those moments.
I think it's very important to see your child as a holistic person. So you don't just judge them on their success at school or what it is that academically they're being scored on. It's about really seeing their true uniqueness as individuals and believing in them also. And I think that's something I do with my own children as well, is really having that belief in them. And when they do need extra assistance, whatever it may be, providing that opportunity for them. And thankfully, Allah's given me that opportunity to provide that for them, and really just being their biggest cheerleader. Because I think I watched something where children really have to, in order for them to live confidently, they have to just feel that they are loved unconditionally. And that's just so important. And it's something that I really try to do with my children.
I love the level of consciousness that is prevalent in this conversation and in the way you carry yourself, and especially in managing a business setting. You mentioned now in terms of having this mindset of alhamdulillah, and if it doesn't work out, we accept it and we move forward and we push. But how do you get past that fear? Because fear seems to be such a barrier for so many people who are afraid to try, who are afraid to venture into different things, who are afraid to take the risks like you're talking about. How do you actually, on a personal basis, get past that fear to be able to understand there's so much more on the other end?
For me, my faith plays a big role in my life. And so it's something that I think we work on as Muslims, is to really know that we have to put our trust in Allah in everything that we do. And that's in our business as well. So I think really, really submitting and having that trust is what sees me through.
We talk about being kind to people around us, but we have to be kind to ourselves.
True.
So I know we are running short on time, so I'm going to ask you very quickly. Tell me about a book that has inspired you. We talk about Iqra being our first injunction of reading. I listen to your value system of consistently learning. What is the one book that has inspired you?
Well, that's a book I actually read quite recently. I've always been moved by the words of Rumi. And so I actually read the book, The 40 Rules of Love.
One of my favorites.
Yes. And I think she just, she writes so beautifully. And I've actually gone on to another book that she's written, and it just transports you to a whole new world.
For sure. And I think 40 Rules of Love is something you need to keep rereading. It's a different message each time. What is the one money habit that you swear by?
Always enjoy life to the fullest, but live within your means. And I think in the world of social media, we're so exposed to these lifestyles that it's very important to maintain perspective.
Very much so. In terms of your chapter and your journey going forward, I mean, if you talk to someone like me, there's an avalanche of information and overload. What is the part that excites you the most? Beyond the fear, beyond all these obstacles, what excites you most about this journey for you at Oasis?
Well, I think it's very exciting to be part of the digital strategy. And I think it opens up a world of accessibility. And something that we really would like to achieve is to empower people, to give them that knowledge, to simplify finance, to make them feel excited about taking on this journey in their lives. And I think through digitization, that's become increasingly easier to access a huge amount of people and make finance easy to understand and something that they feel that they can take on and hopefully prosper in their lives because of it.
Let me ask you, in terms of the kind of impact and the legacy that you would like to leave behind, especially for women, coming from your knowledge, coming from practical experience of a lived valued system, what would you want to leave for them?
For me, it's very important is to live your life authentically to who you are. I think that's incredibly important. It radiates into your life and to the people around you as well. And then we touched on the fact that it's about embracing opportunities, and that's an important legacy I'd like to leave. And I think the internal dialogue that you give, that you have, is incredibly powerful. One of the, I hope I don't get the saying wrong, but one of the sayings that I love that Muhammad Ali said, he said, "I am the greatest. I said it before I knew I was."
I love that.
And it just resonates so much with me, because what we tell ourselves really is so powerful.
Thank you so much for such an insightful conversation, for giving us so much to think about and so much to reflect on. I think for me, the biggest thing that I've taken out of this is that when you talk about finance, when it's rooted in values, it's not just numbers, it's about impact that you have in the world. And I think that's what you and the company stands for. Shukran so much for joining us on air. We wish you every barakah and success along your journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
A lot to reflect on, and I'm sure you'll be watching this over and over again, because when it becomes a journey not just about numbers, there's something far beyond that. It's about impact in the world that we live. Shukran for joining us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.